you guys are looking at this one, and I had a question on number 9. Number 9, I have the square root of 25 over the square root of 49. I'm on the quiz, and I'm asking you if this is rational or irrational, and you do something like this. You tell me the square root of 25 is what? 5. And the square root of 49 is 7. And so now I get 5/7, which then I put down rational, right? Because, and my reason is because it's a fraction, right? So on the quiz on Friday, I'm going to ask you rational or irrational, and I'm going to say why. 2 points. Do you have to show this 5/7? No, but you can. You need to show me rational. You need to write that down, and then you'd say because it's a fraction. That's it. 2 points, right? Okay, so I'm looking at number 10. Number 10, I have the square root of 100, which I know is 10 over the square root of 5. Right away, rational, right? Why? It's a fraction, right? Rational, it's a fraction, that's it. Number 16. Number 16 says, a floor has a square of 212 square feet is the area. Are the dimensions of the room rational or irrational? So we know that the side is always equal to the square root of the area. And my area happens to be 212. Is that one of the numbers on your list that you memorized? Since it's not one we memorized, it is irrational. Why? Not a perfect square, right? Can't be written as a fraction. Okay? Not a perfect square. It's a decimal that never repeats and never ends. Anything like that, right? Does that make sense? We're looking at that? Okay? All right. So, we're going to do, all right, so the square root of 60 or the square root of 130, which one do you want to look at? Someone said they still didn't get this. Which one do we want to look at? Yeah. 130? 130. Okay. So 130 is between what two perfect squares? 121. Put the square root of that. The top one is 121, then the next one's 144. In your notes, Brian. You gotta open your notes. I know you've been gone a few years, but we gotta have you at least. This is in your workbook. So workbook first and then notes. You can write this down even though you didn't do yours. You at least have this, okay? So, square root of 121 is 11. Square root of 144 is 12. So on the bottom, you want to make sure you know where that is. All right. So 11 and a half is going to be in the middle. I am going to take and add 120 plus 144. And when I do that, I get 264. Do you agree? And I'm dividing it by 2. That's going to give me 2 goes in here 1 time, 2 goes into 6 3 times, 2 goes into 4, 132. Did I do something wrong?
It's just, why did you do 120 and not 120?
Oh, I should have 121. Oh, thank you. Oh, see, it's good to have you here checking my math at the end of the day. 132.5, right? Almost 133 or 132. So this is 11.5. And you put down an answer of 11.6. Do I mark 11.6 wrong? Because I already know 130 is less than 132.5, right? So you put 11.6, you put 11.5, it's wrong, right? Where should it be? It should be less than 11.5, right? So maybe you put 11.4 or 11.3. I take both those answers, right? Maybe you go, oh, I think that's really close to this 132. I think it's about right here, so I think that that is 11.4, right? You have to answer the question up here. This is where I had a lot of you that didn't do that. Like you just did all this work and you didn't even circle what your answer was, my recommendation is on the test, put it right by that so I can see that. This is your work, but that's what I need to see. Okay, questions? So, I'm going to be handing back some papers as you guys are copying down these notes. Who is getting papers back? People that yesterday, when they cut out page 6 and page 10. I was gone yesterday and I didn't turn those in. I didn't have mine done yesterday and I didn't turn mine in. You know, you gave me mine back earlier this morning, Mrs. Thompson, when I was in, and I already fixed my mistakes, right? So on the top of each of these pages, if you get it back, you didn't get all the points. If you didn't hand it in, you got a 0, right? So I put those grades in last night when I was at home. You get a 1 out of 5 or a 2 out of 5. It'll say redo. That redo means this. I will give you full credit if you actually redo it the right way, okay? That's on your own time. It might be today when you work on homework, you fix yours. I had some people in here this morning, okay? But you have to fix it. You don't fix it, I'm not going to come and find you. I'm not going to say, you know that redo assignment that you only got a 1 out of 5? You know, if you redo it, you could get all the points. Hey, wouldn't that be great? Your grade would go. I'm not going to do that. You're in 8th grade. You get the grade you get. I'm not going to chase you down and find you in the cafeteria or in the library and go, hey, come and do your homework. You've got a choice to make, okay? So you're going to get these back. I'm going to put this vocab up here, and you guys can start copying the vocab as I'm handing these back, okay? So, as you are looking at this, or what is a whole number, okay? And you're going to see that I'm going to highlight a few things up here. You don't need all this written down, I don't think. But I do think it's helpful to have, oh, it's 0 and the counting numbers, right? Like this. And it's whole numbers and their opposites with the negatives. And it's fractions is what rational really means. But it includes all of these things, right? So I'm going to let you start copying that in your notes because there's a blank page, right? You see on A7 where all those boxes are, you're filling those boxes in. Now you don't need all the words, but you need a lot of those, okay? If you were going to read a whole number for me, Erwin, you want to read it? What it says? Up there. Yeah.
Whole numbers include 0, and all the counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers include 2.
Emily, you want to read the next one?
Integers include all the whole numbers and their opposite negatives, including -3, -2, -1, 0.
Jeffrey, you want to read what it says for rational?
Rational numbers are all numbers that can be written as a ratio of two integers. This includes all whole numbers, integers, terminating decimals, repeating decimals, and perfect numbers.
So, every whole number is an integer. Every integer is also a rational, and every rational fits into that bigger circle of real, okay? Today you're doing a lot of work with vocabulary in your homework, okay? When you do the work with your, when you're doing the work with vocabulary, you might want this page open of your notes, okay? Because it has all this vocabulary here of what all these types of numbers are. You don't have to, but it might be helpful, okay? So what is irrational? Alexis, want to read that for us?
Irrational numbers are all numbers that can be written as a ratio, that can't be written as a ratio of two integers. This includes non-terminating, non-repeating decimals, and non-perfect equations.
So, what might I write down if I'm writing that? I might just go with, you know what? It's not a fraction, right? It's not a fraction. If I'm looking at irrational, it cannot be written as a fraction. But it's more importantly, it includes, if I'm looking at this, non-terminating, that means decimals that never end and never repeat, and my non-perfect roots. What do you mean non-perfect roots? What does this look like? This is like the square root of 2, right? The square root of 3. Perfect roots, square root of 4, square root of 1, square root of 121, right? So thinking about those types of numbers. So tonight's assignment is mostly vocab, okay? And then what's a real number? It's everything, both irrational and rational. So real is everything. The other thing I like to put down for real number, besides this, is I like to put any number on the number line. Or every number. Every number on the number line. Remember the video the other day? It said in between any two rational numbers, you can always find another rational and irrational. Between any two irrationals, you can always find a rational and an irrational. So a number line, you can always find other numbers in between them, okay? All of these make up our number line, okay? Now, top of the that next part down in your notes, go.
The 1 plus 2 equals 3 and 1 plus 3 equals 4.
Well, kind of, but like going down here to get from here to here, we added 23, and then we added
25 and then 27.
so that if you get stuck, and then 27, and then you could do 29 and 31 and 30, you could do that. So if you get stuck, so here's the deal on the quiz Friday, we've practiced this a bunch. I know there are some of you that get to about right here. And you get stuck. You get everything up till then. Those are the ones I practice, right? You don't need to practice 1 squared through 13 squared. You want to practice 16 squared. 16 squared is 256. You're going to say it out loud. You're going to write it down. You're going to do that like 5 times in a row. 16 squared is 256. 16 squared is 250. You're going to say it over and over. And then you might go down to 19. 19 squared is 361. 19 squared is 361. 361 is 19 squared, right? Square root of 361 is 19. Say it many different ways, right? And then have someone ask you or try and write it after you've done that. But you have to actually practice, okay? Here's the other thing, is on the quiz, you start this and you get so far, just leave it, right? And do the rest of the quiz. And come back at the end. You're going to have the whole period to take the quiz, okay? It's going to be quiet in here. Your desks are going to be separated. It's going to be quiet, okay? There's some of you I know that have some other accommodations for taking your quiz. If that's you and you want to not take your quiz in the room, you want to have it read to you, this is a quiet setting. My room will be dead quiet. There will be no one talking in my quizzes. So if that's the case, make sure you check with me or let me know, okay? But you can keep practicing these, and some of you need to do that, okay? Some of you didn't have this down. Okay? Make sure you practice. The piece of paper that I wanted you to take out, please take that out now and turn to your workbook A7. But on your paper, I'm going to give you 4 questions. You're going to do question 1 and 2. And when you get this paper, this piece of notebook paper, I know some of you yesterday decided, I know she said put my name on that paper, but I think she only means my first name. So please write your first and your last name. I want your first and last name on the top. And then put A7. And where you would find this is actually in your notes. If you looked at A4, this was the A4 notes that we took, okay? So if you were looking at that. So please please write down the question. The question for number 1 is 0.1 and the 7-4 repeat. Okay, the 7 and 4 repeat. Number 2, 4.37 repeats. I would go halfway down your paper so you leave lots of room for work. That's not enough room for work, right? So you want to leave lots of room for work. So that's why I put 1 and 2 across. And then I put number 3 down here and number 4. I would suggest doing it the same way on your notebook paper. If you didn't have your own notebook paper, I have some in the back right on those bins, okay? These are a lot harder than the ones that you did yesterday that most of you turned in on that page A6. And if you didn't do page A7, that's the questions that you're going to see more like that on the test or on your quiz that you have to do change a repeating decimal to a fraction. So, let's do 1 together. This is the work I am looking for. Some of you that got your papers back that said to redo it, this is what I need to see. And if you handed yours in and didn't get it back, the reason you didn't get it back is it checked out fine. And I'm not going to hand it back just to hand back papers and show you that you got all the points or you did it right, okay? If you want yours back, let me know and I'll always get it back to you. So we're going to start with 1x, right below the problem. 1x equals. What could I write 1x is equal to, Sam?
1x is equal to 0.0.
No, not 0.0, 0.
174.
Okay, I gotta keep going. What else?
174.
Is the 1 repeating?
74.
Oh, 74. Yeah. So I had that mistake happen for a few people. 74. I'm gonna do another 74. All right. Once I have that, now, Emma, tell me, what am I gonna multiply by? 100. 2 numbers repeat, we multiply by 100. So on your paper, make sure, those of you that are writing this down, you're showing us 100, right? 100 times the 1x, right? We're going to multiply, and over here, we're taking this times 100, okay? Lily, can you tell me what I'm going to end up with?
17.47 repeating.
17.47. So I have 2 places, right? Because I'm moving it 100, 2 places. So it's 17.4747. And I'm going to stop with the 4, right? Because I don't want to end with the 7, because what repeated was 747474. Does that make sense? Okay. And then over here, I'm going to have 100x was equal to that. And right below, Traylon, what am I going to put? What am I subtracting? Minus 1x. Equal, what did 1x equal, Andrew?
17.
What was 1x equal to? Right here.
0.7.
So 0 point, so I have those decimal points lined up. This is key. 0 point what?
74.
Just 74, or do I have to put this 1? Okay, so 1, and then I have 74, right? Do you see how beautiful it is? When I go and I multiply by the right number, right? And I show my work on this. And so I am now, these 4s are canceling until I get the 4s and 7s. So 4 minus 0.1 is 0.3. And 17.3. And what mistakes some people did on their quiz, or on that homework that you handed in, some people put an answer here of 100. They put 100x equals 17.3. And they just didn't subtract, right? And then they did the subtraction and they put, not 99, but they decided to put 9. Oh, because they were thinking it was 10 minus 1x, and it's not, it's 100, okay? And when it's 1,000 minus 1, it's 999, not 99. Okay, so I handed back some of those. But I'm not done. Aiden, tell me what I'm doing to finish.
Putting a 9.
Yeah. Now, those questions that you did the other day, they were a lot easier. Like, you could almost look at the problem and go, oh, if it's 0.43 repeating, I know that that's going to end up to be 43 over 99. I don't have to do this work. Because some of you started seeing patterns, which is great. But that's not going to help you out when you're doing this problem because the numbers don't stay the same anymore. When you have 2 numbers repeating or 3, it doesn't work out. But now to finish this one, what do I have to do, Olivia? I'm almost done.
Make it that the 17.3 isn't a decimal.
I gotta make that 17.3 as in a decimal. And how would you do that? Any recommendations for me? Just change it because I don't like decimals in my fractions.
Yeah.
No. Why? Jamie, help us out. Why? What do I have to do? I can't just go, I don't like decimals there. I'm going to just make it something else. What?
You times it by 100.
I am. Not by 100. I can go less than that. I could go 100, but then it gets bigger. I'm going to multiply. How many places do I want to move it? 1 place only, so I'm going to multiply it by 10. Right? So my answer is going to be 173, no more decimal up there, over 990. I do not care if you simplify, you can leave it like this. Right? You're done. Okay? So you have these other 3 problems to do. Okay? If you have this done for tomorrow, this page, awesome, you'll turn it in. If you don't, you'll turn it in Friday when we take our quiz. Okay? I need to see the practice on this. The next page, there's 2 pages of like these joke sheets in your workbook that are due for that you should have done. You want to get the joke on them. You want to fill in the letters down below. I know some of your teachers prior might have said, you know what, not a big deal. It is a big deal.